It's an early stage exploration opportunity in a proven gold district. David, our chairman, was there and he's very enthusiastic. He was there inspecting the rock samples himself. He knows the area very well himself. He studied very nearby to it. In fact, he's done a multitude of projects in that area.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by London BTC Company CEO Huey Rattray. Huey, very good to speak with you. Can you remind us why London BTC is turning to gold to hedge against Bitcoin?
Yeah, and I think it really comes down, Stephen, to being a treasury company and understanding how you can be active in a market where the treasury market isn't necessarily that busy. As you'll note, around the world, there's been suppression around the industry. Bitcoin being a risk-on asset in the world, and Trump waging war on dictators around the world every month. You need to figure out a strategy in order to be able to capitalize on market uncertainty and also still give yourself exposure to positivity in the crypto markets or the Bitcoin markets. So, over the last few months of last year, we were thinking how we can really create catalysts within the company while still maintaining our exposure to Bitcoin, still being a Bitcoin first company. But we really wanted to, show some activity, and this opportunity came up. And obviously, our board has this awesome amount of experience in the gold industry and the exploration industry. So it makes sense. And it's not necessarily a counter trade to Bitcoin. Bitcoin and gold, they have this asymmetric upside with each other, but you also understand that they kind of stand for the same thing as assets.
So looking at that opportunity, it's the Chance Gold Mine in Australia. The team's out there this week. What stood out to the team during that visit?
Well, it's an early stage exploration opportunity in a proven gold district. David, our chairman, was there and he's very enthusiastic. He was there inspecting the rock samples himself. He knows the area very well himself. He studied very nearby to it. In fact, he's done a multitude of projects in that area. I think, what's really exciting about it is it's this prolific gold district, really. And there's a whole bunch of there's a whole lot of news flow that can come out off the back of us doing something like this. Rock samples are in the lab now, so the next stage will be the assay results that come from that. And then beyond that, we either look to kind of flip the license and move somewhere else, or we look to kind of continue to develop the prospect.
How do you balance funding gold projects while growing your Bitcoin mining operations, Huey?
Depending on the prospect and how well it lights up, will depend on how we finance it. Obviously, the primary way that we finance this right now is we've offloaded a little portion of our Bitcoin stack, basically. And, some of the market doesn't quite understand the reason for that. I think when you look logically, and you understand, the risk reward with doing that, I think you'll begin to understand why we did it and how we feel like that was the right decision to progress what we're doing here. Our share price is relatively low compared to last year, so it made less sense to dilute down here than it did to make that trade with the Bitcoin to go towards the gold exploration asset.
What's the plan for new gold projects in the US, such as staking those prospective acreages in Nevada and California?
Yeah, so again, that's an early stage thing that we're hoping to have some kind of catalytic news come out in the next couple of months on. We want to employ this strategy, primarily in America with the Western Australia prospect as well. But because we're endeavoring to list in the US, we want to have something geographically relative when we go, to the NASDAQ investors and the bankers and stuff like that.
And so for investors watching London BTC, how do you see this dual strategy of Bitcoin mining and gold hedging shaping the company's resilience and growth over the next few years?
So I think we've got a very good team for exactly this straddle trade, right? We've got myself, who's very experienced in the Bitcoin industry, and then we've got David and Jeremy, our two founders and board members and chairman, who are extremely experienced in the gold industry. I think this will be the perfect, as I said, straddle trade over the next couple of years. And I think we would hope to kind of expand the gold exploration aspect of the business, whilst also simultaneously expanding our Bitcoin exposure on our Bitcoin stack. That's the dream scenario over the next 12 months. And how do we do that? We create some excitement around the stock, and then things start to move in the right direction. And then we can kind of reignite the flywheel, as people say, and that can contribute both towards gold licenses, gold development, and also Bitcoin stacking.
And you're also still looking at expanding that Bitcoin mining fleet in the US, is that right?
Yeah, so that's a huge aspect of the business right now, and it's something that we would expand as the Bitcoin price recovers a bit more, I think. Ultimately the plan is to grow that fleet to a real size. Right now we're in a world where chip costs and ASICs miners and miner profitability is slightly uncertain at the moment. But having said that, things do the way that Bitcoin's designed is the network readjusts to make sure that miners stay in profitability, right? So yeah, if you look, we now have a three-pronged approach with the company. We've got gold exploration, gold prospects, we've got the typical Bitcoin holdings and Bitcoin stacking, and then we have the mining revenue that we generate from the mining side of the business. So we're covering a lot of bases, and as I think David said in his last interview, we want to be wary of as a board about dilution, especially down here. Um, we want to try and get this. We're all in this for pounds, not pence, right? And that's the ultimate message that I want to get across to people. And everyone's got the same motivation, and we feel like we're doing absolutely what's best for the company right now. And this could be a news-rich period for us the next few months, and it could be specifically because of what we're doing right now.
Sounds like a very exciting period ahead for the company, Huey. I hope you'll continue to keep us updated with your progress.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for your time.
Very welcome, London BTC Company CEO Huey Rattray.